Hi, everyone, and thank you for attending our Uncover Interesting AAM Data webinar session today. I'd like to start out by suggesting that you use either Chrome or Firefox as your internet browser when using the Media Intelligence Center. For today's webinar, my colleague Sandy Likey and I are going to discuss some of the more unique questions you receive about AAM data and the Media Intelligence Center. The way this is going to work is it's more conversational, so Sandy's going to be asking me questions and I'll be answering them, and I'll be navigating through the Media Intelligence Center to show you, not only answer the questions, but to show you how to access the data that goes along with the answers. Okay, Sandy, so let's start with magazines as the topic and our first question.
Sounds great, Jenny. So for our first question for magazines, where does Puerto Rico circulation get counted?
All right, so let's start by signing in. So we're going to log into the Media Intelligence Center. And I'm logging in here. Okay, so that's a great question, and I get this question pretty frequently. So where can we find Puerto Rico circulation for magazines? So let's start with selecting magazine media here on the left, and I'm just going to go in and select a parent company out of here. So we'll just select Hearst and click Apply and Close, and that just gives us some of our Hearst magazines. So let's just select all, and then I'm going to click on Analyze Data. And then we click on Analyze Data. So once I get into the periodical analyzer, I'm going to go over our answer. Circulation by state data is featured in the periodical analyzer. So as you saw, I just selected my magazines, which you can do either by typing the name in the search by bar up here, or as I did, I used my filters on the left-hand side to pick my grouping of magazines. Now, the circulation by state is in the periodical analyzer. So what I did was pull in my titles, and I go down to the the geographic analyses section, and that's where my geographic analysis report is. Because data for Puerto Rico is included in the possessions and other areas section of the geographic analysis report. So when I click on geographic analysis, I'm going to go to select all, and then I'm going to click submit. And I'm going to go to the very end of the report, because that's where you're going to see that possessions and other areas. And we're going to go back up and go to the next page, and we'll get it here. Let me go to the next page. I have international. Here we go. So you'll see here possessions and other areas, and because I brought in several magazines, 20 plus magazines, you'll see that there are a variety of titles listed under publication name. So Puerto Rican circulation is listed, you'll see under geoclassification. Right here it says possessions and other areas. So that's where that Puerto Rican circulation is included. It is not broken out individually, but it's reported as an aggregate. So you can just export this data right here. You click on export, choose your preferred format and click OK, and then that downloads directly into Excel. So remember, it's in the periodical analyzer in the geographic analysis question. So let's go on to our second question.
Thank you, Jenny. That was great. So now the next question for magazines is, how do I pull magazines with circulation of 250,000 and greater?
Okay. Answer. So we're going to go back to the main page of the Media Intelligence Center, and I'm going to actually just click reset here. It's this button to the left to filter by with an arrow on the end of it. So on the main page, we're going to place check marks to the left of magazine media. So we go underneath media and put a check mark to the left of magazine media. Then we're going to go and scroll down here, and we're going to go to the circulation filter. Now, we're going to check 250,001 to 500,000, and then we're going to check 500,000 to 1 million, and then we're going to check 1 million and greater. Now, if you scroll up, you're going to see here that we have 183 as our selection. So that's how you know we've got 183 of our magazines that have a 200,000 or greater circulation. Quick tip, to see this list of magazines sorted by highest to lowest circulation, click on Magazine Circ.
Oh, look at that.
So now you've got your magazine circulation sorted. So remember, we sorted 200,000 and greater. That gave us our 183. You clicked on Magazine Circ because all of these up here are clickable. And now you've got your list sorted by greatest to least. You can also do the same in reverse and do it least to greatest. You can just click like that and you'll see. So that's easy to sort here. You can click on media property and you would alphabetically get a list here. Now you could select all available magazines and pull them into the periodical analyzer to download data into Excel, or click on a particular title to access brand view or reports library. So from here, if you want to select all and go into the periodical analyzer, you just click Analyze Data. Or if you're just interested in one particular title, you just click on the name in blue, and that would take you to brand view, or you could go into reports library and such from here. Or another quick tip, if you want to just highlight data that's on this front page, just select all here and click this Excel icon, and then you'll get all of this data from the front page right into Excel. So that's something that people don't remember, is that this Excel icon extracts that front page data. So that's another quick tip. Sandy, let's move on to the next question.
Thanks, Jenny. Actually, I really like that magazine where you can do the
data sort?
The data sort,
yeah.
And then you can export it quickly into Excel. That's awesome. I learned something new. Next question is, how do I access partnership and sponsorship distribute for magazines?
Okay, so if you want to access partnership and sponsorship distribution, those are categories. We can find this data in the periodical analyzer. So I'm going to once again click the reset button here. And remember, we need to select our titles. So I'm going to go to magazine media, but this time I'm going to select all U.S. magazines. So under country, I'm going to select United States. And now to select all, I'm just going to put a check mark to the left of media property, and that has all of our 265 U.S. consumer magazines. I'm going to click on Analyze Data. So it's going to take just a few seconds because we've got all of our magazines selected. And then you'll see here we've got a list of tabs. I'm going to go to the Periodical Analyzer tab. And then I'm going to go to the Subscription Analysis section. Now, you'll always remember this report, and I call this the nitty-gritty report because it's the longest one here. It's the supplemental analysis of average paid, verified, and analyzed non-paid circulation. And when I open this report, you'll see why I say nitty-gritty. You'll see here that there is a lot to choose from. Just remember that sponsorship and partnership distribution is a paid subscription. Both of those are paid subscription categories. So if you go here under paid subscription and we scroll down, you will see partnership is right here. You've got partnership deductible and partnership deductible digital issue. And then as you scroll down a little bit further, you've got sponsored sales print and sponsored sales digital issue. So what you can do is you can select these and then total partnership deductible, sponsored sales print, sponsored sales digital issue, and total sponsored sales. Now, you can also go in here and select other categories if you were looking for additional categories. You can even select all paid subscription categories by putting a check mark to the left of paid subscriptions. You can select single copy sales categories. But since we were specifically looking for partnership and sponsored, we're just going to select these categories, and I'm going to click on Submit. Once I click on Submit, remember I pulled in all of my consumer magazines, and you'll see at the top here, here's partnership deductible, print, digital issue, and total, and here are my sponsored sales. So that information we easily got here. You just click on Export. You choose your preferred format, which is Excel. You click OK, and that downloads directly into Excel.
That's great, Jenny. Thank you.
So I'm going to close out of here, and we'll move on to our next question, Sandy.
So I have one more question for magazines, and then we'll switch over to the newspaper side. So this last question for magazines is, how do I access Canadian circulation of a U.S. magazine?
That's a great question, and you know what? I get this question all the time. I probably a couple times a month is I'm getting people calling in and showing people how to access Canadian circulation of a U.S. magazine. So once again, you're going to find this data in the periodical analyzer. So I had already pulled in all of our U.S. consumer magazines. So I'm going to go ahead and keep our magazines in, all of our U.S. magazines in the periodical analyzer because it's easy to access our data. So from here, you can choose the, scroll down and choose the Canadian circulation of U.S. magazine section. It's the very last section in the periodical analyzer. So we want to choose the total Canadian circulation of analyzed issue report. It's this first report right here. This will break out the Canadian circulation in total. So right here, you just click on total Canadian circulation of analyzed issue. And you'll see here, you can select your categories by putting check marks to the left of them, or you can select all, which I will do for this example, and then you click on Submit. Now, once you do that, you can see here that you've got your breakouts here for the Canadian circulation of the analyzed issue, and it gives you your complete breakouts, and now you can export this. And remember, it's the Canadian breakout of the U.S. magazine. So you've got the magazine listed here, and it'll be the Canadian breakout in total. So you can export this, choose your preferred format, and then you click OK, and that downloads directly into Excel. Now, in addition, per Rule F5.1, every U.S. publication with circulation of 70,000 or more in Canada shall be required to analyze its Canadian circulation by province. So for those that report it, you can access circulation by province in the single issue geographic total paid and verified Canadian circulation by province report. So I get asked this a lot. Remember with this report that it's only those with circulation of 70,000 or more for our U.S. publications. So I'll get asked, how come my pub doesn't break out by province? It's because of that 70,000 or more rule. So we'll go into here just to show you, because I pulled in all those magazines. We're going to click on this, and you'll see here data is not available for 168. It's because of that circulation total. And then we'll click Submit. And here you'll see the difference. Now instead of our categories, our circulation categories at the top, now we've got our provinces listed. Provinces: Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, etc. So those are our province breakouts. So you can access this information via this report as well. So again, you just click Export, choose your preferred format, and you click OK. So that's our Canadian circulation of U.S. magazine. So now we've answered some of the more interesting magazine questions we have. Let's switch to newspapers, Sandy.
Okay. So the next question for newspapers is, how do I pull newspaper circulation for a particular state?
Okay, good question. So I just clicked reset so we can start with newspapers. So when you log into the Media Intelligence Center, put a check mark to the left of news media. So that just means we're now filtering out our main screen to just reference newspapers. Then we're going to put a check mark to the left of United States. Again, we're just filtering out our U.S. because we're looking at circulation for a particular state. Now go down to the market search filter and choose the state you're interested in. Let's say we're going to look at Missouri. So I'm going to go down to market search and I'm going to click on state. And then I click on Missouri and I click apply and close. Now we just want to pick those newspapers that reside in Missouri, because when we selected Missouri, the filter chose all newspapers that have circulation in the state of Missouri. So let's data sort by state by clicking on state. Remember, as we scroll up, these are all clickable. So I'm going to click on state, and it starts with the A's. So remember, when we selected Missouri, all of these papers have circulation in Missouri, but we want just Missouri. So we're scrolling down, and here we see Missouri. Now you can select all newspapers that reside in Missouri, and there should be 10. So here we're going to put a check mark to the left of Columbia Daily Tribune, News Tribune, Joplin Globe, Kansas City Star. We're going to click next because we'll go to the top of the next page, and there will be our additional Missouri papers. News Leader and its affiliated publication, St. Joseph News Press, St. Louis Dispatch and its AP, and then the St. Louis American. So those are our 10 titles that actually reside within the state of Missouri. Then you can click on the Analyze Data button, which is right here. Remember, you have to select titles to click on the Analyze Data button and to go to the newspaper analyzer. Once you go to the newspaper analyzer, you can choose from amongst the reports here. Because remember, the question was, how do I pull newspaper circulation for a particular state? So now we have all of our Missouri papers. Now it's up to you to choose what type of data do you want. Do you want distribution by state? Now remember, just because you chose those Missouri papers from the front page doesn't mean you're only going to get Missouri circulation from this report. You're still going to get all of the circulation from that newspaper within particular states. So you can pull distribution by zip code, etc. So really what we did was pick the newspapers that reside in Missouri. Now you can pick any one of these reports that you'd like.
Jenny, can you stay there and then go to distribution by zip code?
Yes.
Because this actually leads into our next question.
And pull up the zip code report?
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And I just selected all and distribution by zip code. And here is our distribution by zip code report.
So on this report, they have there's household information by zip code. So the question is, where does this information come from?
Very good question. So what we did was we pulled in our Missouri papers, and what I did was just run the distribution by zip code report. So a good question, and one we receive pretty frequently, is where does the information come from, household information for our zip codes? So if you look right here, I'm going to scroll over. Right here in this column is households. So what does households represent? It pertains to this zip code right here. This happens to be the zip code for this town, which I'll probably massacre, but Rocheport, Missouri, and it's zip code 65279. Household number is 746. So we get this information. The answer is Nielsen. So we get this data from Nielsen, and we get it in the fall of every year. So right here is the household data. Same here, you'll see Ashland, Missouri, 2,404, pertains back to zip code, town, state, etc. This household number, if you scroll over, it is the percent of household coverage is the total projected circulation divided by the household number gives you the percent of household coverage. So that's something that we get asked quite a bit. So that information is provided to us by Nielsen. So that's a good question.
Thanks, Jenny.
And I believe this will be our last question, Sandy.
Yes, for this last question for newspapers. So we have a bunch of abbreviations that we have. So can you tell me what the following abbreviations stand for in the Media Intelligence Center? We have CND, CW, WKL, DLY, AP.
Yes, that's a very good question. I'm going to go ahead and reset our system here. And I'm going to put a check mark to the left of news media, and I'm going to put a check mark to the left of United States. Because I want to give you and show you what Sandy's question is referring to, and then give you the answers to those questions. If you look under type, you're going to see what Sandy is referring to. CND, WKL, CNW, CND, DLY, AP. You're going to see these acronyms referenced throughout AAM literature, AAM's website. If you hover over the top of type, you're going to see definitions to what these mean when you hover over them. But to go over what they mean, CND stands for Community Newspaper Daily. CNW stands for Community Newspaper Weekly. What is Community Newspaper Daily and Weekly? This means the paper is part of our community newspaper program. Community newspaper audits are a cost-efficient and streamlined option for paid and non-paid newspapers with total average circulations of less than 25,000. So these audits are usually every other year audits. So they're usually for smaller pubs, so they call it community newspaper. So that's CND and CNW. AP stands for affiliated publication. DLY stands for daily. WKL stands for weekly. So in case you're wondering, you can always hover over type, and you will get breakouts here if you're confused about those. And you'll definitely get those definitions because these acronyms are used rather frequently within our database. And remember, these are always sortable up here. So if you wanted to access all of the same type of data, you know, all of your weeklies, you can just click on this sortable header up here. And then I'll click reset here. So that is our Uncover Interesting AAM Data webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today. And as a reminder, don't forget to call me or email me using the For Support contact info at the top of the page here. This micenter@auditedmedia.com email and this 877 phone number, both of these come directly to me. So if you're in the Media Intelligence Center and you get stuck, shoot me an email or give me a call and I'd be happy to help. And on behalf of Sandy and I, we'd like to say thank you and hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.